Okay.
Recording has started.
Alrighty. Everyone's here with the exception of the council member McClemens yet, so he probably will not be attending. Um, did we have any reports or presentations? There are none on the agenda. Okay. First item of business then, we would go to the TMG services for the Tacoma Point issues. This is Jack going to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to actually start off with this one with introducing Todd Tendecki. He's our new assistant superintendent, taking over the role previously held by Dave Syak, overseeing our water department. And he comes with 26 years of experience from Covington Water, and we're really fortunate to have him join our team. So in terms of the agenda bill itself, as you said, this is for Resolution 134, authorizing award of contract for TMG services, Tacoma Point well site chlorination and analyzer upgrade. In 2021, we had a budget amount of 170 in our infrastructural renewal program, with a current balance of 128. 463 and 13 cents. This expenditure will cost us $102,797.17. This was actually an anticipated project we had planned for 2021. We had mentioned it in the 2020 water system update. Todd, can you give us technical details of what we're doing?
Yeah, no problem, Jack. Thank you. So yeah, we're going to be installing at Tacoma Point. We're going to be installing a new OSEC unit. So right now we have a unit there that is getting kind of to its useful life. We're having some problems with it. So the cells and stuff are getting to the point where they're starting to crack and leak. So things are starting to need replacement. So we were doing that on site. That's kind of the big project. We're also replacing an analyzer there. The analyzer is kind of getting to the same thing. It's around 2007, getting up at its useful life also. A lot of maintenance goes into those analyzers, especially when they get towards their life expectancy. So staff's spending a lot of time repairing that analyzer. The other thing we're doing also is Tacoma, we are going to be out at South Prairie. South Prairie is where we receive our Tacoma water right now. And so currently, we do not have any analyzers out there, and the water comes from the headworks, which is about 19 miles away. And this was kind of on the sanitary survey back in 2016 to get something out there so we can monitor the water as it comes into our distribution system. So we're putting a brand new analyzer out there, and then we're also putting a turbidimeter online out there too. I'm very familiar with Tacoma water, and one of the things that we've seen at Covington is we've seen a lot of manganese in their water. So that's one of the things I want to do with the turbidimeter is, monitor that manganese level. They have the filtration plant up there, and ever since they put the filtration plant up there, got to be an issue. And so at Covington, we received a lot of dirty water, and most of it was manganese coming out of solution. So and they know about it, and so, but it'd be nice to get some definitely information of our own. So by putting that turbidimeter and those analyzers and collecting that data will give us something to have conversations down the road, maybe with Tacoma. So any questions on the projects?
Hi, Todd, this is Dan. I was wondering, because you mentioned, I can see you getting the water from Tacoma there, right?
Yep.
They, of course, they have, they notify us when their turbidity is too high and we have to not take water, I gather, or something, how that process works, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's one of the things they're supposed to do. The problem that we've seen at Covington, did I cut you off?
No, you're fine. You're good. I'm just giggling about Tacoma's supposed to, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Sorry. So what we're doing is we're getting the water, and the analyzers that we're reading right now are up at the headworks. So that's the information we get. It's 19 miles away. So what they give us out of the headworks is what we're seeing. So that's the information. So we were the same thing at Covington. And so if they do like a mini flush, or if they turn up the velocities in the water main, you will not see that. So you would not see that down where we're at. So we've seen that pretty frequently at Covington, where they would do, like, they would call it a mini flush, or system maintenance is what they would call it. And we'd see those turbidity levels spike up into, we would shut down around 3 NTU. I think they're supposed to call us around 4, and then the maximum is 5.
Yeah.
But we want to know before that, so we would always shut down prior to any of that stuff. So if they are doing mini flushes, we'd be like, no, it's just we'll be off. We'll let you guys do your business until, and then we'll turn it back on when we need to.
Yep. Yep. Or is there an integration with a PLC at our site then, so that we can do automated turn-offs or something with our new meters or anything?
We don't have that part in this scope of the work at this time. We'll definitely have to work at that's probably going to be parametrics coming out and working with parametrics on a contract and having them getting that set up for us. Right now, this contract is just kind of getting the analyzer in and getting the, it all set up
Yeah.
with TMG.
It's the one that records it, then it keeps the logs for you and everything, that type of thing?
Yes, yeah, it'll do all that. Once we get all integrated our SCADA system, we'll be able to get the information back here, and so we can see it. We can set up all the alarms we want to. So if we want to set it at 1 NTU and have it alarm us out at 1 or 2, we should be able to do all that, and so we can have those discussions on the front end instead of waiting until it gets too high.
Great, appreciate it. Thank you.
So we're tracking all. This is Tom Watson. We're tracking all that, what comes through, so we can report back to them.
We will. This is right now we don't. So right now when we turn on Tacoma, we go out there and just take a chlorine residual sample, which is not much.
Yes.
So we've actually beefed up our water quality sampling here over the last 2 months. Just a little bit more information. Eric is now taking, distribution samples for our back tees, but we're capturing a lot more information. We're capturing pH, we're capturing alkalinity, temperature. We're going to do also, we're going to capture some manganese, so we're going to capture all this data. Fluoride's another one. I know fluoride's kind of a sensitive topic, but it does come from Tacoma.
Good.
So we'll move this one to the next available council meeting on the consent agenda. Okay.
Good job. Thank you.
12 to 12.
No problem. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Welcome to joining us there. Yay.
Glad to have you here.
Yeah. So we've been requested to move this zoning thing to the next CDC meeting apparently.
That's affirmative. Yep.
So then we'll move down to item number 3, which is the contract for on-call.
Well, you do. You have me.
We do. Yeah. You
Jesus
yourself.
getting lonely there. All of a sudden.
No. So I'm sure it's well known.
You have a cot upstairs.
Yeah, I have a cot upstairs. Nick Schildmeyer, who was our associate planner, took a job as a senior planner, a position that we don't have at the city, with the city of Kent. Mary had agreed to be the associate planner. When she agreed to be the associate planner, she had already told me she had applied for a position at the state, but because of the timing, we didn't know if it was going to work out. And she's now a senior planner, will be a senior planner with the Department of Commerce. So
That's really good.
yeah, both employees are, came to Bonney Lake, got a lot of good training, got a lot of good experience, and
Well, your fault, Jason.
this is what happens. John will tell you with these types of positions. After 3 to 5 years, they kind of move on to bigger and brighter pastures. The challenge is the timing in which it's occurring. Leaves us without any sort of planning staff between probably now and mid-November. I'm hoping to have the assistant planner by then filled, and probably December for the associate. I'm working with John on how to manage permit flows, and Ryan and all, how we're going to keep things going. The one concern we did have is that if for some reason we are in the middle of a pandemic, I go down, there is nobody left to do any sort of permit review on the 3rd floor. So we did reach out to LDC, who their planning manager is Clay White, who both John and I know really well. He was a former planning director for Snohomish County, has a lot of planners on staff that kind of knows our code. He worked with us on the housing action plan, so they've kind of reviewed our code once before. This contract would only be used in those instances where there is no staff to do the work, and we would be able to call LDC in to kind of be the planning department until I was able to or get back on my feet myself. That was the biggest concern, is just if by some chance I get sick or hit by a car. It was very weird to write an agenda item about yourself getting hurt. But I thought it would be the best thing for the city to have some sort of contract in place. They're going to send the planner down that would be that person in advance, so they get to meet Debbie and Jody and Ryan and everybody. And that way, if we had to call this in on that emergency basis, they would be able to step right in and kind of take over doing those types of reviews.
And they do some of the stuff in their location, and they need to come down here to do it all.
They actually could do it in their physical location because we do everything electronic. They have agreed that they would send a planner down if we wanted them to provide counter coverage. Because as I said, there would be no one to even provide that service. So they would be willing to even send someone down a couple days a week just to help us answer planning questions at the front counter.
These rates all per hour?
Yes.
So hopefully it's not anything we have to take advantage of. But in the meantime, Jason doesn't get to cross the street by himself. He only eats soft foods. Yeah.
I don't get to go out. I go from work to the house. No, like I said, when we were kind of planning the transition, we just wanted to make sure that kind of all bases were covered. We don't think we'll need the contract. Mary and I are working really hard to get a lot of things pushed out, and I should be able to manage the permit side of the house until such time as we get a new staff members rolling.
You don't have any plans coming in you can foresee causing some problems in the near future?
No, I mean, not unless something weird happens.
Right.
We've got a lot of the big stuff already kind of pushed through the system. And the stuff that has come in that hasn't been pushed through has had at least one review on it. So that the comprehensive comments are there. So it's more of me going back and double checking back and forth A to B. And even with Mary stepping up into the associate planner role, there was going to be a lot of hands-on there with I trained her to do that type of work. So we kind of expected that, and she's doing a lot of work right now to push a lot of stuff out of the system. So that hopefully every permit that we have in now will have at least one review and possibly approval before she leaves. Which will hopefully lessen that load going forward. But with all permits, I don't know it walks in from day to day.
Sure. Yeah, I don't mind how much you guys want to use, whatever you need. Personal life, you got it. Appropriately. There's another entity that uses them.
Right, I'd agree with that. Totally.
Yourself. You want to survive we want to use you next year and burn you out, or whoever else is involved in the process. So if you have the resources out there that you can say, hey, I could do this, or I could shove it off to these guys, and then it'll give me.
Yeah, we're kind of doing a couple options. I've kind of got a transition plan in with John and Ryan. Right? They're looking at kind of what we're going to put holds on and what we're going to keep doing during this transitional period. And that's going to depend on how the outcome of that comes out, then it might affect us. But right now, we're hoping that we can just kind of keep it all in-house. But I wanted to have a backup plan for any of those reasons.
Yeah. Don't kill yourself.
Listen, because the people have jobs, right? So if they left, that amount of work needs to go somewhere, hopefully, or you don't need them in the first place, right? So you're one person, not expected to be two.
Right.
Right. Kind of like, hey, that needs to get done, and here's the people that can do it. So they're doing it. Yeah.
I'm good.
Next available council meeting, or whatever it is. And then we go down to budget for current AMR software upgrade type of thing. I don't know who's speaking to that necessarily.
Actually, Steph will be speaking to that.
Yeah.
This is finance side of the house. So.
Yes, it's actually a part of the whole, but it's the first step in how we need to go with our new AMR. The first step in Neptune, who we currently have our AMI system with, has extended us a huge discount on the upgrade of the new software. It would normally be about $48,000, and they're giving us a promo of $38,000. So they're taking $10,000 off if we do this by the end of the year. The current software is not working. It's Poor Chuck, I feel really bad. It is, and it's become a real pain for our customers also, because when they want to find out what's wrong, why their water is so high, sometimes we can't get that information from the meter because of the software, and it's become real difficult to deal with the customers, get them to understand their water usage. So what we want to do is, this is like, this is the first step. We get the new software. The new software, we are actually on 5 iterations of Neptune. What we should be is right here, we are way old in what we have. So we need to upgrade it. The best part about that is upgrading it will take us to a web-based platform. So Chuck no longer has to have the extra cloud-based server, any of that stuff. And he kind of gets taken out of the mix. Then we work directly with Neptune then on the software. This will then help us, because my people will now have access to go in and look and see a lot of the usage. So that helps us in helping people understand where their usage is. We had 25 phone calls, 23 phone calls last week on high usage. When we investigated, only one was. The rest of them were just. We actually helped a lady who didn't know her irrigation system was going off at 3:00 in the morning. Yeah, and she didn't know until I told her, and then she was able to stay up and go, "Oh, you were right." So these are the kinds of things that we'll be able to help people with, because our bills are high, and we want to get them lower. We want people to understand their watering patterns, and we also want the bills to be lower. And in order to do that, we have to go to a monthly billing. And this is the first step in doing that and transitioning.
So the new system picks up you're talking about being able to get off the newer meters, apparently, some granular data, apparently.
So
because we currently can't do that without going out there.
So the newer radio read meters that we have now, you can do data logs, but yes, staff has to go out to the meter and actually pull that information off. What we're working towards, though, is being able to have a fixed, ultimately, the goal is to have a fixed radio system that can pull all those meters from, say, right here in this building, picture an antenna out there, and it's going to communicate with all of the meters and be able to pull all that information for us. And in turn, with that system, hopefully be able to push it out so that customers can also see their account information and usage in real time.
How did you do the current scenario where the customer was having high usage during the day that they weren't?
Well, that was another thing. I had to have the guys, the meter readers, go out, pull the data logs. It took 2 weeks for us to find that. If I had been able to have the fixed system, I could have looked at it and said, "Oh, this is what's happening."
But that's the ultimate fixed system.
Yes. Well, the ultimate is, like Brian said,
what?
is what we want is with this system. Eventually, we'll be able so that people can have apps on their phone that they can get their reads hourly, daily.
Now, this software, correct me.
Importantly,
The software that she's talking about is not offering the customer side of
No,
things.
this is not. But eventually, we
that's
would
right.
need this software to be able to do it.
Councilmember Swatman, I think more importantly, this gets you to your monthly billing. This is the first step in getting us to the monthly billing that you're wanting. And we can't do that without the upgraded software. So that's key in the software upgrade, is to be able to get to the monthly billing.
Right, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I really appreciate all you guys working on that. That's been kind of a long priority there to figure out features like that. So that's really helpful to the customer, I believe.
Another component to that, which Jack will be coming back at a future CDC discuss, is kind of the additional information we were talking about here with the fixed radio system and the meter replacement part of it, and what he's been doing with Todd to work with the meter readers to actually have the boots on the ground, be able to start reading these meters in an efficient manner so that we can provide the monthly billing. That's the other part of this that they've been working on and we'll be bringing back to discuss.
I saw someone down my street walking down just walking down the street with a stick going on, a yellow thing. I think he has them.
Yeah, that's the meter reader. That's
just walking down there.
Yeah, we have some that they have to touch reads. We have some that are the radio reads, and then we have some that are not at all hooked up. And our goal is to get the touch reads and the ones that haven't been hooked up at all eventually to be changed out.
And how far are we to getting to that point?
Well, what a segue, Jack. Todd, I can tell you that at this point, all of the meters in the county and there I am looking at the screen again. All the
Yeah.
meters in the
Yeah.
county have been switched out to radio reads, but within the city limits, guys, I don't know if you can give us an update on that. Commercial is all
Commercial
done.
is all, yes, commercial has all.
Actually,
I can
actually in
give
the
a little
19th,
update. Oh,
in the following, we'll do in the next CDC meeting, we'll provide an update of where we're at with all the meters. We still have a few left to do. And also at the same time, we were working with the vendor on what it would take to actually install or finish the installation of all of them. And if you would like, we could also have them present to you what that actually looks like and what the cost would look like for the CDC.
Worth conversation, yes.
Good to know.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay, we'll do that.
So basically tonight, I'm trying to gauge your interest in whether or not you'd like to see this in the budget amendment.
Oh, yeah, I would. This has been going on for years.
Well, this is just a small upgrade,
Right.
though, right? This is only that $38,000 you're talking about.
This
right?
is just the software.
This is just the software, so yeah, but this is
Correct.
the beginning
Oh, yeah,
of
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, we
You
should-
can't do anything further.
That's a
until we
savings
get
of
the
$10,000 too.
Yeah, and that's why
Right.
we've done it.
there's,
I like that.
there's the Tom savings.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more you buy, the more you save. We like that program. But
All
we
right.
always need to stay current on the software. We're not going to have any issues with you said it's web-based type stuff apparently.
Yeah,
so,
this does not sit on premise at all. It's
Okay.
it's housed by
AWS or Azure
yeah.
or whoever
Yep.
or whatever the.
so obviously, as we all know, that has its own set of inconveniences where
Yeah,
you maybe have a small outage during
Yeah,
a
sure.
day. I mean,
Yeah.
but it's nothing like us having this on our own property and then Neptune pointing at us pointing at Neptune.
Yeah, I know, right?
And everyone's crossing their
Yeah,
their
uh-huh.
their fingers.
Yeah.
Who's responsible for what, and why is
Yeah.
one piece of something not
Oh.
working?
That's always good. Do they have? So is this just kind of the first point cost of it, and then of course there's a yearly should
There's a
be
yearly
hopefully.
subscription,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we're already gonna pay for 3 years within this
Oh, okay, yeah,
this money.
yeah. So just remember to program that in going forward.
Oh, yeah, no,
with
Sherry
whatever it
knows.
is. So yeah. So because that way you don't end up in a situation where you're X number of versions
Oh, yeah, no.
behind. You know, it's just kind of like it's just nice and stuck up there, and you just like it just always.
Right, well,
maintained.
and the best part about being on the web version, we won't have to pay for upgrades. They will
Right.
just upgrade
Yep.
it just comes straight through.
That's good. Yeah.
Love it. IT people can sleep.
Just half a night off.
Yeah,
I'm good for it.
That's great. Yeah, I support it.
Included in the budget amendment.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Sidewalks. Sidewalks.
Sidewalks.
Sidewalks.
Andrew's hanging out there. Wake up.
So excited. Went
Sidewalks.
there several times this weekend.
Okay, Mr. Fonda, I think this is your show here with sidewalks. Is that the story?
I'll go ahead and kick it off for us, and then that'll be for both Andrew and I. We've been working this past year on the sidewalk project for the city. This includes missing links, ADA enhancement opportunities, locations identified in the transportation element of the city comprehensive plan, and just even conversations with various staff. We came up with 11 different locations that we feel meet a lot of the needs, but also are just natural destination points connecting the communities to the destinations. And currently in our 21 and 22 budget, we have about $1 million available, both in road and street operations and ADA compliance. And so we felt that it was important to bring this forward in front of the CDC, bring you in early on in our design process. And so tonight we'll present the 11 different locations and just get your input on that, and we'll just kind of use that to guide us through the process here. Andrew, like I said, has been running point on this, and please, Andrew, if you would share it, maybe go through your 11 17s and just give us a brief rundown of what they look like and the cost of those.
Sure. Thanks, Jack. So, I'll give a quick summary for each project, location, description, the mobility element priority that's in the comprehensive plan, the level of service that's associated with those segments, and probable construction cost estimates. So for number one, which is the Allen York Park segment, this is located on West Taps Highway from the mid-block crosswalk at Allen York Park and then northbound to Bonney Lake Boulevard. This project would extend curb gutter sidewalk 225 feet. And as an option on this particular project, we're also proposing to remove that existing railroad tie retaining wall and replace it with the Kelly block wall that's to match existing. And then also another option would be to remove the existing galvanized fencing and replace it with the black vinyl fencing to match the existing improvements at the park. The mobility element priority for this location was a high priority, and the level of service was red, which means it's below the standard for pedestrian improvements. And the probable construction cost estimate for this project was $78,744.
Hey, Andrew, do you want to share the screen as you're doing that so people can see that don't have it in front of them?
You might have to show me how to do that.
Why don't I just do it for you? Let me see if this works.
Right, thank you.
Oh, there you go.
You got it?
Jack's got you.
I got you.
Okay.
Andrew, or whoever's handling this one on the Alan York piece there, the question on that?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
So I was wondering, and I think it's great. I think the sidewalks long needed on that side there, and I know the council's sensitive to pedestrian crossings and such in the area. Is there any thoughts to if we're able to change any of that? Is this going to affect, or pedestrian safety? I guess is the topic at Alan York, right? How does this affect pedestrian safety? I guess is the question, right?
Oh, does the project affect the safety of the pedestrians? Is that the question?
Yeah, because I'm thinking, that there's my most unfavorite crossing that's sitting right there, right at the lower part of the picture, because people run across the road every 5 seconds. There is, that's what we're trying to do is ensure pedestrian safety in that area, and is that kind of a thought there? When I'm sure council members are going to ask about that, right, when this comes up, so that'll be an ask, right?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we haven't done a formal, safety survey, but, the intent is to increase the safety in the area.
I could add a little more to that too, Andrew. This is going to help with the one for ADA compliance of finishing off that sidewalk here, but also in the future years, we're also going to do another beacon replacement. We have these beacons here. We're going to replace that next year too with an updated one. Also, we're going to be doing more of the markings that you see, just providing more of a reflector value on that. So we do have some of that safety elements in mind for these.
Okay, good. Yeah, exactly. That's, I'm sure, what the council members will be asking about. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So the number 2 site is the Brookside Drive location. This is located along Brookside Drive between Springwood Drive and 104th Street. There is actually existing curb and gutter and a stormwater system placed at this location, so the cost is going to be quite less than some of the other locations. The project would extend sidewalk 350 feet. And there's another option for this, based on feedback from planning, would be to add a crossing at Springwood Drive. But because this project element priority had a low priority because there's sidewalk on the other side of the street, and the level of service was green, so it exceeds the standard for pedestrian improvements. But the cost was $43,703 estimate.
So do we know on these, are these just a suggested list, or is this because you mentioned that this one's kind of like, if we're going to do one that's probably isn't high on the list type of thing, or how does that end up?
Well, how we initially identify these locations were because, I mean, we didn't have the budgets at the time when we initially started creating this list. So we picked locations that we knew that we could do with the funding that we had. So those low-hanging fruit locations where, if there's existing stormwater already, there's existing curb and gutter, but maybe no sidewalk, low cost opportunities to extend sidewalk. That's why some of these ones kind of got mixed in with the higher priority locations, but that's kind of how it started.
Well, a question, there's no sidewalk on either end of this one, is there? It appears to me that where it begins, there's no sidewalk there on the corner. And it ends over down on,
Well, there isn't a sidewalk on
Is there
the
a
high school
sidewalk here?
side, right? I forget.
I don't
There's-
see the point in having one there if there's not a connecting
It
sidewalk
looks
there.
like
There's one on the other side of the street.
Yeah, I
This,
guess.
this is essentially going to connect us to the Springwood Drive intersection, which has the homes here. So it gives a natural walking path. And that's really what the idea is. It's for this community right here.
Right. But he's gonna
But
connect
again,
it.
we got 11 locations that really what we're doing is just trying to gauge input. And if this falls down below, then we're good with that too. We figure what's going to happen is once we go through this analysis and you give us your input of which ones you like, we only have a certain amount of money that we'll probably take the 2 or 3 that we like and we'll go into design this year, and then next year we'll get them built for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because this one does sound kind of like, kind of on the lower end of priorities, if you will, so far, because of the availability of sidewalk and everything on the other side.
Yeah.
Good analysis.
Okay. So for the number 3 location, Kelly Lake Road, this is an extension located along Kelly Lake Road between 212th and 210th. The project would extend curb, gutter, and sidewalk 520 feet.
Keeping there, huh? Somebody did some really good work with that. Can you just Photoshop in some sidewalk? We'll call it good. We'll walk away.
All done.
Okay. Yeah, this is definitely one going towards. Yeah, okay, yeah, and I know where it is. Yeah, yeah.
It's the Springwood or the Springhaven rather, Springhaven community.
More pieces we get out there to all those neighborhoods into the park area, because that is heading towards the park area, and there's just a couple of missing pieces.
Right. So
Neighborhoods.
I drive by there all the time. On Home Depot.
Yeah.
this location had a low mobility element priority, but a red level of service. So it doesn't meet the the standard for pedestrian improvements. But the estimated probable cost was $115,395.
Now, I drive that so often, I don't see a lot of people walking through there, but it makes sense to have that to connect them.
There's no sidewalks.
Yeah.
There's room to walk there.
So for the site number 4, Church Lake Road, this is a sidewalk extension located along Church Lake Road between 81st Street and extending northbound around the short corner and connecting to existing sidewalk at the GMG community, I believe. The project would extend curb, gutter, and sidewalk 475 feet. It had a low mobility element priority and a red level of service, and the estimated cost was $97,106.
I like this one. Good spot.
In addition to what Drew is mentioning here, this was also the location of a complaint from a citizen earlier this year regarding their fence getting struck by a vehicle. And so we had SCJ take a look at this corner and come up with some recommendations. And honestly, Public Works has done a great job. It's signed appropriately and everything else. But one of the things that they did indicate was that perhaps a curb section and sidewalk through here would also help delineate that curve better.
Does that fence have a temporary cover on that fence?
What's that?
Does that fence have a temporary cover on that thing
Well,
still?
they had a blue tarp
Yeah,
right
they
after
had-
it hit, but I don't know if they've replaced the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So this location here actually is a really good one for a project of this
So
type.
is this connecting to the other curb and gutter on that street too? As it makes it as we're
Yes.
on both ends?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And then here.
Good idea.
Okay, so for site number 5, this sidewalk extension is located along Angeline Road between 106th Street and 101st Street. The project would extend curb, gutter, and sidewalk 1,050 feet. But this one also includes a stormwater collection and conveyance system, so it's going to be quite a bit, more expensive. The mobility element priority was low, but it had a level of service of red, so it didn't meet the current standard. And the construction cost estimate was $347,117. For site number 6, this is also on Angeline Road.
Some of those on Angeline are subject to parcel redevelopment at some point, gather, right? They do have some existing homes out there, larger lots kind of thing. Angeline's kind of a problematic, long.
There's so many bits and pieces out there where they're not built and are built, That's where we got the complaint a few years ago about.
Yeah, there was missing that little piece, where it's practical to put together a little piece.
I think if this parcel was ever redeveloped, then you might be able to look at frontage improvements along it, but that might be a long time coming. So this would basically be finishing off that missing link at this point.
Agreed. Yeah. It's parallel with a major pedestrian trail too, which kind of. It doesn't really make sense to compare it to a sidewalk, but it's kind of there. Because if the neighborhoods, of course, go easterly a little bit, then they can take the trail all the way in that we spent $500 million on. So could have probably put sidewalks through 90%.
It's only 494.
So I'm just rounding, right?
Round it up.
It's a really cool project.
It is. I agree with that. Especially when you put stairs on it somewhere. That'll be really super cool. I'm liking that.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, so it's a short section, 250 feet, low priority, level of service was red, $136,301 was for the project. And then number 7 was another segment on Angeline Road. This one is along, it's actually 2 segments. It's from 111th Street and then southbound 250 feet and then connect into the existing sidewalk. And then from 113th Street southbound approximately 350 feet to connect to the another existing sidewalk section. And this project would also include a stormwater collection and conveyance system. It had a low mobility element priority and a red level of service. And probable construction cost estimate was $309,661.
Or is this the piece that connects into the one that we did several years back on Angeline? We did a small section on Angeline a number of years back.
That one was from Panorama Boulevard to the next block. I can't remember if it was, let me see. I think it would have been, I think it's Panorama Boulevard to 111th, I think is the segment we did.
It was all over. Yeah. So these all be connected then from the start to the finish then. And in between parts already a sidewalk there. That part?
Correct, from 101st, I think, where Copperfield, I believe, is located, down to Ashton Village, I think, is the community down there by Rose Lake. 114th Street, so 101st to 114th Street, wherever there was a missing segment.
So how close we getting to having one sidewalk all down Angeline now? Is it way, other than the curve, I know is a problem, the bridge, but
Thousands of feet.
thousands of feet is a lot more space. Yeah. Pieces down there. I know. Too bad. Yeah.
Thank you, Pierce County.
Well, okay.
Before they made the sidewalk.
Okay, so I think we're up to Skyland Drive now. I mean, this one was like I said earlier, it was extremely easy project, very limited scope. There's already existing stormwater out there. There's an existing wedge curb. All we're doing is concrete flat work. There's no obstructions. There's nothing in the way. It's about as straightforward as you can get on a sidewalk project. but it does have a lower priority just because it's there's sidewalk across the street, and the level of service is green. We're already exceeding the standard for pedestrian improvements, but with the lower budgets that we had initially, that one was kind of our target because we knew we could afford it. But it's on Skyland Drive. It's between 178th Avenue and 104th Street, and it would extend sidewalk 150 feet, and the cost was $19,403 as an estimate. So number 9 would be 84th Street. And this would be to extend a sidewalk along 84th between 182nd and 183rd, and also from 184th to Locust, so it'd be two segments. But total, the curb gutter sidewalk would be 1,125 feet and include a pretty extensive stormwater collection and conveyance system. The element priority from the mobility element was high to moderate, and it had a level of service of red. But the probable construction cost estimate was $524,431. So it's one of the more expensive ones. And then for number 10, 88th Street. This one would be between 188th Avenue and 189th Avenue Court East on 88th Street. The project would extend curb gutter sidewalk 160 feet. Right now we have it estimated on the south side. I know it's shown on the north, only because there's a lot of utility poles on the north side, so there'd be conflict with that, plus conflict with utility services. So be much higher cost to put it on the north, but we could put it on the north, but right now we have it in our estimate on the south side. It had a mobility element priority as high and a level of service of red, and the probable construction cost on the south side is $33,194. And then for the last one on 190th, this one will extend sidewalk from the existing sidewalk at Bonney Lake Elementary School northbound to 75th Street. The project would extend curb gutter and sidewalk 1,600 feet. It would also be required to have a handrail down the slope on 190th, 375 feet of it, and it would also have to have a stormwater collection and conveyance system. The mobility element priority was high to moderate. It had a level of service of red, and the probable construction cost estimate was $773,750. So it's probably the most expensive one.
Yeah.
I have a question. How come we haven't included a consideration for Locust to Angeline sidewalk, curb and gutter? You've got one here for $500-some thousand. Last estimate I had was about $700,000 to do that. The amount of people that go down that road all the time, continually, for 10 years I've talked about that. Why can't we get that? Locust to
Around the
Angeline.
curve, Drew.
Around the curve.
Going down the hill.
Yeah.
Where people walk all the time and ride their bikes. Going to get killed eventually. I know the problem we run into is we got sewer and we've got water in that road too.
I think certainly that's something we could look at, but I think it's a project that's of big enough size, it probably would exhaust and need additional funds to complete. I don't know that for sure, but that is a pretty involved project, especially as you round the curve, as you know, then you get into potentially a hill slope, you've got sensitive areas through there where the creek crosses. So it's something that we could certainly, Jack and Drew would be happy to look at.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, certainly. That's why we bring this forward, because we definitely want to hear that input. And certainly something like that, initially when we put this together, we didn't have that cost in mind, that we were able to manage that. But now that we do have some more funding available here, yeah, we will definitely take a look at that for you. So you're talking about from Locust to Angeline?
And I was told a few years ago, I mean, that there are grants available for that type of project. So I know it's not cheap, I know it's big, but it needs to be done. It's a terrible spot.
Yeah.
I mean, because
I think
they're
part of
going
this.
from there to Target and stuff.
I think part of this effort is, we identified 11 locations that we thought would be easy to be able to be built so we can get it done this year. But the ones that we don't actually finish, it doesn't mean that we can't go out and start trying to get grant funding and looking for opportunities like complete streets and stuff like that. So certainly if you have other locations, we actually want to hear it, and we love to get that input from you. So thank you for doing that.
Welcome, thank you.
Jack, or Drew, would you happen to know, sorry if you hear that noise in the background, would you happen to know, would the sidewalk on 190th be eligible for like safe routes to school funding or anything like that?
I haven't investigated it, but we can.
Yeah, I mean, just an alternative to look at. I don't know what all the requirements are for that, but I did want to point out, Tom, you and I obviously have talked sidewalks for a long time, and oftentimes this money got pillaged to be matched on other projects that John was working on. And as superintendent, I didn't have quite enough of a club as I do now to be able to keep his hands off of it. So we're pretty excited. I'd like to thank Drew for spending the time to get this far. It was really important to all of us that this gets in front of you so we get your input, because we're going to build something here.
Good. These are important improvements. I agree with this.
Yeah.
I just don't want to forget the other major ones that are important too.
Yeah. No, thank you for the input.
What's the next steps on our proposal?
Well, Jack, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think next steps here would be, one, getting your input on these locations. Plus, we got a new location we can take a look at. And then from there, after we're sure that we're on the same page with you, it would be moving forward to getting the design work done and getting this built. As Jack said, we've got between 21 and 22 budgets, we've got nearly $1 million we can play with here. So
that's great.
It's time to start turning dirt.
Yeah, it's nice we got that money there.
Yeah, what's going to happen with us is we'll, if we have 3 or 4 good locations, we'll actually do a survey, and then we'll actually start some design work, because this is very preliminary design, and then we'll get more of a tighter estimate of how much it's going to cost. And then when we go out to add, we're going to see how the bids come in, and hopefully we can get a whole bunch of them in there. And then the other options, we'll look at other grant opportunities. We can work with Jason on that. Like you said, the Safe Routes to Schools is a great plan, especially for 190th. What's going to be more important is decide if that school district has a safe routes identified for them, and we can work with them on that. But yeah, if you have any input, we would love to hear it, of any preferences you have of the list, or do you have anything you want to add on that?
Yours is great to me.
Yeah, that's a good start. And
yeah, I think it's. There's always variations and opinions here and there, but I think you guys did great laying it out.
Would you like Jack and Drew to come back with an analysis of that corner on Angeline, just so that you can see and what we think the estimate would be to.
It's been 5 years since we talked about price before.
And so we could maybe give them some time to do that and come back in it'd probably be, I don't want to speak for them. They've got plenty of stuff on their plate, but maybe for CDC in November, guys. I don't know. You let me know what's reasonable.
Mid-November sounds pretty good for us. We're going to have to work with SCJ on that, and we got them working on other projects too. But yeah, that would probably be a good time frame, and we'll let you know if we can do that. We'll get you something.
Does that affect the other ones? Because I think there's a lot of these other ones.
If we come back with a cost that is, I would expect that one would come back pretty expensive. But if that's the one that you want to go for, and we've got the funds for it, then certainly we could pursue that. But then it probably pushes all these off the table. So.
Well, yeah, about the price of 84th Street. How important is that compared to that one over there? That's the thing that jumped out on me.
Yeah.
If we have that and some other monies we might have, without taking care of the small ones, I think the small ones should be done.
So let's come back mid-November, and we'll have the information on the other sidewalk there around the curve, and we can finalize our list at that point once we have this question solved.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
What else do we have? Notes? Minutes?
And that's fine. Good job, David.
Yeah. Good on that, yeah. Quick, waiting to steal our
Like his
owl.
hockey.
Yep.
Give me the owl.
Did, Ryan, did that Swift Comply software, did you look into that for the sewer fog stuff?
We did look into it a little bit, just maybe in more of a cursory
Yeah,
manner.
sure,
We just upgraded to using XC2
Uh-huh.
for that's our backflow, correct, Jack?
Is that what it is?
XC2.
Is that
Correct.
what
But I believe Linko we use for fog still, and that is something we've been using for quite some
Sure.
time.
Okay.
The Swift Comply is pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet.
Okay.
It's nice. We don't have any idea on pricing yet, but
Sure.
if that's something you want us to check out
No,
further,
it's
we
for
could.
you guys, but is that other software that you're currently using web-based?
Is not, is it? No,
Yeah.
we don't access that through. Yeah.
Okay, so, there's an advantage to the Swift Comply stuff. It was my impression that it's like web-based. It's software, it's a SaaS software service kind of thing.
And what's nice is
For fog.
Yeah, for fog. You can also get it for backflow.
Apparently for backflow too.
Correct.
But, you got the issues of you already have this system and.
Yeah.
We were
What was
very
nice
interested
is-
in that program, actually. Thanks for bringing that forward. There was a lot of stuff we could actually do with that. And I think actually XC2 was, I don't know if they bought them out, Swift Comply did, but yeah, all of our assistant soups are actually looking at that now and how we could utilize it. So really, thanks for pushing that forward. It sounds like Sumner's using that now, and then it sounds like we could actually get a demo. So we might actually be investigating that. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, anything we can do to move the stuff into the cloud would be, in my opinion. so,
Excellent.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll take a look.
Cool. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Now I got
You can take the owl.